Hello everyone. In today's class, we are going to learn the last lesson in Zeitgeist. This chapter is titled Chemical Happiness and the Meaning of Life. This title contains two of the most important concepts which determine the quality of our lives: happiness and meaning. We humans engage in all kinds of activities to be happy. We try to get a good job, try to find a good partner, a good house, a good this and good that. All of it is for getting happiness. But sometimes, despite getting all these things, we can be unhappy. We see many people around us who have accomplished everything we have wanted to achieve, maybe 2 times or 3 times over, but they're still unhappy. Yuval Noah Harari, in this extract titled Chemical Happiness and the Meaning of Life, taken from his book Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, tells us where to look for true happiness. This Israeli historian says, "Look inside your body. It is all hormones." He presents his points as arguments. He makes a statement and presents the evidence and argues his stand on the topic. Harari is presenting a different perspective of looking at happiness. He argues against the traditional spiritual perception regarding happiness. He busts all those flowery myths we have built around happiness. I become happy because of this, I become happy because of that. Just says that, no, you become happy because of the chemical process that's happening inside your body. He says happiness is a chemical process. You may take different paths like spirituality or accumulate material objects or chase after sensual pleasures. But ultimately, what we are doing is trying to trigger our body to release these hormones without which we cannot feel good. So, which are these hormones? Happiness, according to Yuval Noah Harari, is derived from a complex network of nerves, neurons, and synapses, and various biochemical substances such as serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. People are made happy by pleasant sensations in their bodies caused by such chemicals. So, can we be happy all the time? No, says Harari. If everyone is happy all the time, then we have what we call heaven on earth. Everybody is happy. So there is no cause for conflict. This rarely happens. Happiness and feeling miserable or misery remains kind of constant in our lives. It is determined by our genes. Our genetics determines how much of happiness we are going to get. If a person is blessed with good genes and has a gentle tendency to be happy, it is not mandatory that his genes will be passed on to the next generation. Sometimes the genes of anxious parents or anxious people might get passed on to the next generation. Happiness and misery do not really play a role in evolution. It all depends on whether they facilitate reproduction and survival. If they do, then those genes get passed on, and happiness does not get any special preference over feeling miserable. Happiness facilitates survival in certain aspects such as reproduction. Orgasm gives happiness to men and women. It is a reward for men to spread their genes. So you have sex and you feel happy. So that's a reward. And like that, and due to that, your generation gets revived and your genes gets passed on to the next generation. But the pleasure of sex or pleasure of orgasm does not last forever. It's just for a few moments. So this happiness does not last forever. If it had lasted, if the pleasure from sex had lasted for a long time, then people wouldn't do anything else. So everyone would die of hunger because they get happiness from this. So they don't do anything else. So they will die of hunger or maybe get eaten by animals because they're not bothered about anything else. They need to use, humans need to use their energy for other activities as well. And because of that, the pleasure from this act of reproduction is just for a few moments. Some scientists compare human biochemistry to an air conditioning system. An air conditioning system maintains the temperature of the room, right? Whether it is a heat wave or a storm outside, the air conditioning system keeps the temperature constant. So it will fluctuate and then it will bring back the temperature to the set temperature. Sometimes it is 25 degrees and in some homes it is 20 degrees. Depending on your preference, you set the temperature to a particular degree. In the same way, our biochemical makeup, our biochemical system adjusts the way our hormones are regulated. Some people have a better biochemical system, and even if they are subjected to extreme challenges, extreme situations, extreme happiness, extreme pain, the hormones are released according to the situation, but then it comes back to a particular average state. So they fall back into that normal state. And if it is on the higher side, if it's on a higher scale, then they remain happy. If we are measuring happiness on a scale from like 0 to 10, happiness level 0 to 10, people with cheerful biochemical systems fluctuate between values of 6 to 10. So they fall on the second half of the scale, 6 to 10. So they might fluctuate between 6 to 10 and then fall somewhere between somewhere on the value of 8. So they're happy on most occasions. Those who are grumpier and do not have a cheerful biochemical system, they're generally sad all the time. So their values of happiness will range from 3 to 7 and will settle somewhere between 5. So you give similar kinds of experiences to a person, a grumpy person and a person who is generally happy. They will respond, and then the happier person will remain happy and the grumpier person will remain grumpy. This happiness level or the feeling of happiness, it varies from person to person. So it all depends on our genes. It's kind of a destiny. You can't change that. Happiness definitely depends on the biochemical system of the person and not on the material possessions. You can have all kinds of luxurious goods with you and you can be with the best people around you. But then if your general biochemical system is not that cheerful, then you're going to be unhappy for the rest of your lives. Next, Harari takes up an age-old saying: married people are happier than single people. So is it true? He explores this question. Let me make a personal comment here. Like there was a trend in our culture, or maybe there is still. Like if a man is good for nothing and is of no value to himself or his family or his community, the family elders will come together and then they'll come up with a plan. What is the plan? Let's just get him married and everything will be solved. You give him responsibility of a wife, then this person will become a better person. Does that happen? Does it solve the problem? The problem just becomes the problem of the bride and her family members. So it doesn't work. Harari invites us to look seriously at the statement and the factors involved. Marriage makes people happy, does it? Or is it the opposite? Does happiness result in marriage? He changes that statement. Is it the other way around? Like happiness creates marriage, or happiness makes people or motivates people to get married? People who have a cheerful biochemistry are happy and they make attractive spouses because the entire personality reeks of positivity. They're happy all the time. So obviously people want to be with them. So it will be easier for them to get married. They have a better chance of getting married. So people with a cheerful biochemistry will make attractive spouses. The serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine hormones, they help to maintain the relationship. So if two people having a cheerful disposition or having a cheerful biochemistry come together, their serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine levels are on the higher side and they are regulated in a better manner. So they get married and these levels, these hormones, they are regulated properly, and this helps to maintain the relationship. So they might have problems, but then it will get sorted out and they come back to their normal happy state. If the individuals in the relationship are happy or have a cheerful biochemistry, then the marriage will last. On the other hand, if a happy person marries an unhappy person, it might work, but then the level of happiness might not change for the unhappy person. She or he will remain unhappy even after getting married. Of course, social and environmental factors do influence one's mental state, but they cannot alter the biochemical system of a person for a long time. So if a person wins the lottery of the cheerful biochemistry, like you have been blessed with good genes, then that person will be more happy than the other people, and irrespective of the external stimuli. So the basic thing is that, are you blessed with a good genetic code? The lesson Harari proves that is that happiness is not the result of where we live or in which time we have lived or how much money we earn. And he compares two people, like he compares a medieval French peasant, medieval age, like 1500s, 1400s, somebody who lived at that time, and a modern French banker, a Parisian banker, means somebody who lives in Paris. He compares these two people. So a French medieval peasant, a farmer, and a French banker in the current time. There is a huge gap in the luxuries enjoyed by the two people. But then each had their own time periods, each had their own facilities, and which determine what we can achieve, right? And despite all these differences, they can be equally happy, because it all depends on the hormones produced by our body. So the material possessions do not really affect whether a person is happy or not. That's the point Harari is making here. So what about revolutions, wars, political struggles? So we enter into a revolution to change the government, to bring about political change. So Harari tells that people who have a generally cheerful biochemical system or cheerful biochemistry, they are happy before the revolution and they continue to be happy after the revolution. The fact that the entire system of governance has changed does not really affect their mental makeup. So you can have a huge change in the environment, huge social change, but then people who are blessed with a cheerful biochemical system, they do not, they might feel the change, but then they get back to their normal state of being happy. Or if you are unhappy at the start of the revolution, everything is bad with the world, even after the revolution, or even after the change, you might still be unhappy because, oh my god, this is not what I had expected. It didn't work out the way I had planned. So, despite getting the results that you had planned for, you might still be unhappy. That is because of the your genetic code. One may think if it is all hormones, then what is the purpose of accumulating material objects and subjecting our body to sensual pleasures? That's a question. So Harari is saying that everything is hormones. So why should I go to work? Why should I challenge myself? That's a question that can automatically pop up in our mind. So what can we take from this? That's a question that you must ask. If we see our lives with this knowledge of what truly makes us happy, we can see a lot of problems just fade away. We create tensions or for ourselves and others, clinging on to objects or to people, and make our lives miserable. If we can see happiness for what it is, just a play of chemicals inside our body, if you realize this, if you see this from this perspective, if you see the world from this perspective, we may finally be able to let go and focus on what is truly meaningful. Happiness begins within. So if you can truly understand that, a lot of problems will just get away from us.